Now, in this lecture on real-world applications with case studies as microservices, stateful applications, and big data, and there are some troubleshooting and best practices that we are going to discuss in brief, common issues, performance tuning. Now, let's look at some real-world applications of Kubernetes. It's widely used for deploying microservices architectures, running stateful applications like databases, and handling big data workloads. Troubleshooting common issues and performance tuning are essential skills for maintaining efficient and reliable Kubernetes clusters. Adhering to best practices will help you design and operate your clusters effectively. So that's what this slide is all about. And now we'll discuss something in detail, in real life experience with real life coding on Visual Studio Code. So we'll have to ensure that we have all the prerequisites, Docker installed locally, which I've shown in various previous lectures. It has been installed locally, but if you have doubt, you can always check quickly with the Docker version, and Kubernetes cluster configured, which is also ticked. Minikube or Docker desktop with Kubernetes enabled. Now we can quickly check over here. So this is my Docker desktop on the running, you can see, and if I see the settings and go to Kubernetes, so Kubernetes is already enabled. Okay, and just minimize this, and this will already, it was showing Docker desktop running. Okay, and then you can check the version of Docker. So with Docker and dash versions or hyphen version, you can check the Docker version is already there. Okay, with build, that means Docker is installed and Kubernetes is also enabled, that I have seen. So these two conditions are already met. Now coming back to the, now you have to open the terminal and navigate to your working directory. So I will go back, and my present working directory is Frontend. Okay, so, and my root directory is advanced concepts, which we have already built, okay, earlier at the time of the explaining the advanced concepts lecture previously. So I will cd to this advanced concepts, where I will create the microservice application front end and back end. Okay, so cd dash dash, so I have come to temporary. Okay, that's because the front end was not there. So now I'm back to advanced concepts, and here I will make the backend directory. So and cd to, you can see advanced concept backend directory is created, and cd to backend. So now backend directory. Now let's see if there is anything backend, and list this backend directory. Nothing is there. All right, we'll start from scratch now. Now once change directory to backend, I will have to create the index.js file, which looks like this. So this is a creating a backend server with Node and Express.js. All right, so we'll copy this code from here and paste it to create an index.js. Okay, so on to my backend here, I'll create this file, index.js. All right, and paste this code. This is a basic code that requires the Express, that's bringing the Express library, and it uses the port 5000, and it sends a GET request, and the response, it gets hello from backend, and the app is listening on this port 5000 with a log statement, backend app listening at this port, http:// localhost : this is the port number, $port is the evaluation of port number, which is 5000. Okay, localhost : 5000. All right, now we'll create the package.json in the backend directory. Create a new file. Package.json, and get this code pasted over here. So basically the most important thing here in this package.json, it is about the dependencies. It has got one dependency, express version 4.17.1, and it starts a script node index.js. So it runs the index.js file which we just created. Okay, this one. And then of course save it. So running through the slideshow so that we are in unison. This is the this is the package.json which I just created, and then we now create the Docker file for backend. So it has got, from node version 14 it is using, and work directory on the container is front/app, and copy that package.json to the container work directory, that is front/app, and it runs the Docker file commands to run npm install, and it copies from working directory everything to the container directory, work directory, and expose. It uses port 5000, and it executes the command node index.js. And then the next thing is to Docker build it. Actually creates a local image with the tag my backend : latest, and because this command is run on the current working directory, this from the directory that is front end where we soon create the Docker file, this Docker build command is also run from the same directory. So this is just the destination which is in the current directory. Now inside this Visual Studio Code, in the backend I will create this file, new file, Docker file. And in this Docker file, in the backend directory, I will paste this code which we just discussed, save it, and we'll build that. And now the next step is first to build with the tag t, this container my backend with tag latest. So again, switching back and executing this command, I'm already on the backend directory, see, and I will give this command docker build. So it is building the image. So it's all done, okay, successfully done. Now we shall go for the front end setup. So we'll navigate back to the main directory. So we'll cd to, I'm just going through the steps first in the slideshow, and then I will demonstrate on the Visual Studio Code. So Kubernetes advanced concept, and we'll create, now here we'll actually create a React application, from the create React app by putting this command, by applying this command npx create React app front end, and then we'll cd to the front end. Actually this command npx create React app with front end, it automatically creates the front end directory if it is not already there, and we change to the front end directory. And this setup a basic React application structure in the front end directory, and we can start the React development server with npm start, which is optional just for testing purpose. Okay, so we'll do these steps now. We'll come back and cd to dot dot. So we are into advanced concepts again. That was our root drive. So again on the Visual Studio Code, I'll give, this was already done. So npx create React app frontend and then change directly to the frontend. So you can see at the moment I have got only the backend directory. There is no frontend directory. It will create the frontend directory. First it will create the React app with the frontend directory and then change directly to the frontend from advanced concept. Okay, let's see. So it will take a while to actually create the React application. We'll come back after it finishes. You can see it is still creating after a wee while that React application, and it is successfully created the application. And then we suggest that you begin by typing cd frontend and then npm start. Okay, so cd frontend, it's also suggesting cd frontend. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm already on the frontend because that is where cd frontend command was already given. So I'll just start the React npm start. We are already onto the frontend directory npm start. Okay, so open in browser here. Now you can see the React server on localhost 3000. Okay, so React frontend is already built with the React template, and I could preview in the editor also if you choose. So it is there, the friendly preview editor. You can just close this. Now close this also. Okay, so our job is working so far. All right, the next thing is, now we'll create the Docker file for frontend with this command, with this set of commands from node 14. Again, working directly on the Containerize front/app, and then copy package.json to the working directory, run npm install, and copy everything from the source to the destination directory, and expose the port 3000, which we have seen the React port. Already it is running on port 3000, so we expose the port 3000 on the container too, and the command will be npm start. And then we'll build the Docker container with this command, docker build tag and dash t means tag, or hyphen t is tag my frontend latest. And this will be, because this command, docker build command, will be run in the same current directory where we would like it is running from, where the docker file is there, so it will be just a dot. The destination is in the same. We are running the docker file from the same directory where we are running this command. So first we'll stop the application, Control C to get back to our command prompt, and then, like we made for the backend, we'll create a docker file for the front end. So front end, I highlighted the front end folder and then click on new file and then docker file. It will open the docker file for me. So I'll copy this part, npm start. It's for the front end directory, which I just explained, and then save it. And then we'll build the front end image. Okay. Since I am already on the front end directory, I'll issue this command, docker build tag t my front end latest, and see the fun. It is building the image. You can see it is still building the image. It takes quite a bit of time. 3 out of 5 steps have been run, and the fourth step is getting an npm install for all the package dependencies. And then the fifth step is getting executed, copy from parent to the container, and then all done. You can see that, if I give this command, docker images command, to give list out all the Docker images built locally, my front end a few seconds back, the latest 40 seconds back, and my backend, this one 12 minutes back. Okay. Here one thing to note is that you can issue this command Docker images to list all the Docker images with the tags from whichever directory you like to. So initially I issued the command from the front end directory. Now I browsed back to the advanced concepts, which was the root directory, and issued the same command to get the same answer. My front end a minute ago, my back end a few minutes ago, 13 minutes ago. So it's all the same. So you can issue these commands from anywhere. Okay. Next is, now I have to create the Kubernetes deployment YAMLs. Okay. First, backend deployment YAML. This is the code. YAML markup, whatever. Now here, one thing too important is this single line of markup, image pull policy never. Ensure this line is added, because it can ensure that the image will never be attempted to be pulled from any remote repository, whether it is Docker Hub or any private cloud repository. So this is very important, because I found that this was ending in an error which took almost one full day to troubleshoot. Okay, so this is backend deployment.yaml, which we'll put in the backend, and then we'll put the frontend deployment.yaml on the backend and front end. And here also image pull policy is never. This is very, very important. You must take care of this. Now they look very similar. So first of all, I will create these two deployment. So cd to front end, and then here this is the front end. Now here I will create this file, frontend deployment.yaml. So frontend deployment.yaml file is within the frontend folder, and here I will paste this code. This is the frontend deployment YAML. So I think most of it is self-explanatory, and we just explained it. And then we will create the backend deployment. So now if you list, you will see this frontend deployment.yaml is already there, and then we'll cd to the backend. Oh, before we go to the backend, we'll create the frontend service also .yaml, because this service is important in actually testing after the deployment is done. So I will create the frontend service .yaml. Again, a new file. Frontend dash service or hyphen service .yaml. Frontend hyphen service.yaml, and paste this code. Now this is the kind here is service, as opposed to this kind here it was deployment. Metadata name is frontend, it was for the deployment, and it had the image and the container port and image policy. But here the kind is service and type is node port, but there is no container. Okay, container was for the deployment, but this was service. This is just giving you the port. It is for communication. All right. So these two are here. Now again, you can list on the front end, and it will show frontend service.yaml, frontend deployment.yaml. Both are there. Now we will cd to the backend. cd advanced concepts. cd. Okay, one step at a time. Advanced concept, and then cd to backend. Now we are on the backend. Okay, so backend is here, and just it was just collapse front end and then backend. I will create two files, these two files again. So backend -deployment.yaml. This is my backend deployment.yaml, and here I will paste this code. So image pool policy never. This is the deployment. Kind is deployment. You can check here, and image pool policy never. And then I'll create another file. Backend service. Yes, you guessed it rightly. Backend service.yaml. Backend service.yaml. It is you need to be very careful in looking for any typo. Backend -service.yaml. Okay, and then I paste this code. You can again see this is backend service, this kind is service, and this port is 5000 on your machine, and the target port is also 5000. Type node port. Okay. Yep. Done front end. You have done the backend service. Now front end service also you have created. Now we'll apply for the kubectl, we'll apply these commands with this file frontend deployment.yaml, then backend deployment.yaml, and then frontend service.yaml and backend service.yaml. So let's get back to Visual Studio Code. Now I am on the backend. So I will apply the backend deployment of .yaml first and backend service.yaml first. kubectl apply this file backend deployment.yaml. Okay. So deployment apps packet unchanged. All right. Okay. So I was just listing whether both my services are there, they are available. So kubectl apply this file backend service. Okay, backend service is configured. Now for the front end, we'll go to the front end now. cd to front end. So cd front end. Now we'll apply the front end deployment and front end service. So deployment was done earlier, so it is remaining unchanged, but we'll create the service. Okay, so front end service, service configured. Okay, Now let's verify the deployments. So I have got back to the advanced concepts folder again, but I could even continue from the where we left in the front end folder also. So it doesn't matter because I have to retrieve by getting the deployments, getting the pods and the services with these commands. So let's see. All right, so you could issue these commands one by one to be clean and efficient, but I know what I am doing. So get deployments. So this is the deployment. This part, the top part is deployment. The front end, back end and front end are both ready and up to date and available. All right. And then kubectl get pods. So this is the back end pod. Okay. The front end pod with this appending these alphanumerical, and then backend service, front end service with the node ports. Node ports are all there. Now that we have successfully deployed on Kubernetes, and I have shown you the Kubernetes pods where each of the containers are running and the services, we'll stop at that. And thank you very much for attending this session.